Hello and welcome to Grammar Skills Module 5, in which we will talk about pronouns and their antecedents and how we can make sure they match. So let's begin with a definition. First of all, a quick review. A pronoun is a substitute for a noun. So a noun might be Bob and the pronoun would be he or him or his. The noun or pronoun it refers to is called the antecedent, and the pronoun and that antecedent are in agreement if they're both singular or both plural. So that's the whole thing. So for example here, Dr. Jackson finished her rounds. Her is the pronoun. Dr. Jackson is the noun or the antecedent, her name that it refers to. Both are singular, so we're good. All right, so in the following exercises, you will see sentences that contain a pronoun. So in those sentences, I would like you to determine if that pronoun agrees with the antecedent that it refers to. If it doesn't, please revise the sentence to achieve that agreement. Okay? And as always, if you're watching it as a video, especially with this exercise or these kind of exercises, just pause the video so you don't have to rush through it. Again, I'm only allowing 5 seconds per slide, so you have plenty of time. Revise the sentence if necessary, and then continue watching the video. Okay? And as always, after each exercise slide, there will be an answer slide that will give you the correct answer with an explanation. All right, exercise 1. When someone is tired, they are more likely to be irritable. So please determine if the pronoun agrees with the antecedent, and if it does not, please revise the sentence to achieve agreement. So the pronoun they and the antecedent it refers to, someone, are not in agreement. So when someone is tired, they are more likely to be irritable. Someone is singular, they is plural. The other thing that sort of should provide a really strong clue is the verb forms. Someone is, verb form is singular, they are, verb form of to be is plural. So when the verb forms don't match, that's also an indication that this is going to be a problem. So let's look at some possible revisions here. When someone is tired, he or she is more likely to be irritable. So with he or she, we're now referring back to someone. He or she is singular, someone is singular, so we're good. Now, this is a very general statement. It's not referring to a very specific person in terms of the antecedent. So when we have a general statement, we can also make the antecedent plural. So in this example, when people are tired, they are more likely to be irritable. Okay? So we're not changing the meaning of the sentence, we're just making everything plural. Okay? The other reason that might be the preferred solution to that is it's okay to occasionally use he or she, he or she, he or she. If you've ever read a text, a long text where every other sentence includes he or she, it gets a little tiresome. Okay? So whenever you can express general ideas in plural to avoid that awkwardness, go ahead and do it. Now, before we continue, here's something I need to address, and that is the issue of gender identities. So we have to address the fact that a significant number of people, and according to a recent study, 0.4%, that's almost 1 in 200 people, do not identify as male or female. So a person who does not define as binary, and what that means is male or female, that person frequently prefers the pronoun they. So yes, from a grammatical perspective, that's a little confusing, okay? However, please respect that person's choice, okay? And you may have noticed in recent months, a lot of times when people send you an email, at the bottom of the email where they list their name and their title and sometimes their website or phone number, they may also include their preferred pronouns. So let's pay attention to that, okay? So as we interact with friends, with classmates, fellow students, colleagues, just let's be sensitive and respectful to other people's personal choices and identities. Okay. Now, for the purposes of this this module, we're going to assume that everyone that we're referring to identifies as binary, as either male or female. Exercise 2. The jury made their decision. So please determine if the pronoun agrees with the antecedent, and if it doesn't, please revise it to achieve agreement. So this sentence is, in the sentence, the pronoun and its antecedent are not in agreement. The pronoun is their, and the antecedent jury is singular. So this was discussed in one of the 2 preliminary grammar modules that I posted a couple weeks ago. Please remember that in American English, jury is considered grammatically a singular entity, particularly if that group of people acts in unison. So making a decision is something they jointly do at the same time. So the correct revision is the jury made its decision. So although it is made up of male and female members, the jury itself doesn't have a gender. Okay, so therefore the third person singular neuter possessive pronoun its, and remember, just notice there's no apostrophe. Its as a possessive pronoun that does not have an apostrophe is the correct choice. Okay. Now, as I pointed out before, if the sentence were the jury were returning to the courtroom, now we're using the plural because they're not simultaneously all floating in. They're walking in independently and then sitting back down in their seats. To avoid any kind of awkwardness or questioning on the part of the reader, I would probably just change that to the members of the jury were returning to the courtroom to avoid that. Exercise 3. Neither Sean nor his brothers did his homework. Again, does the pronoun agree with the antecedents? And if it does not, please revise the sentence to achieve that agreement. All right, let's look at the sentence again. Neither Sean nor his brothers did his homework. So the problem we're facing in this sentence is this. We have one pronoun, which is his, and it's singular. But the main issue that we're facing is that this pronoun can potentially refer to 2 separate antecedents. One of them being Sean, the other being his brothers. Okay? And the reason that's the situation here is because we're setting up this comparison using neither and nor. So Sean is an antecedent, it's singular. His brothers is an antecedent, but it's plural. If you're looking at the sentence, you will find that his brothers, so the second antecedent, is closer to the pronoun in terms of proximity than Sean is. So therefore, that plural antecedent, his brothers, determines the correct pronoun. Okay? So the sentence should be revised to read, neither Sean nor his brothers did their homework. Exercise 4. The supervisor reprimanded their team. Okay. Is the pronoun in agreement with the antecedent? If not, how can we fix it? The supervisor, the antecedent, reprimanded their team. There is plural. Okay. So, in the absence of knowing the supervisor's name, which would always be preferable, or the gender of that person, there's only one way to correct the sentence, and it is the supervisor reprimanded his or her team. So one thing we have to be very careful with when we correct grammatical issues is that we don't change the meaning of the sentence. Okay? For that reason, the following two choices will not work. The supervisors reprimanded their team. Okay, so the meaning of the sentence is that one person is reprimanding a group of people who work for him or her. So this is not a general statement. So we can't just make that plural. We're not talking about multiple supervisors representing their teams. Okay, there's only one supervisor and one team. So this will not work. Sometimes students change this to the supervisor reprimanded the team. The problem with this is we don't know whose team it is. Okay? So this could be another supervisor's team. Okay? So we're lacking the clarity in that example as to whose team it is, so therefore this will also not work. So again, unfortunately, the only way to fix it is the supervisor reprimanded his or her team. Exercise 5. If either of the girls move in with Jack, they are out of their minds. Right. Is the pronoun, or are the pronouns, there are actually a couple here, in agreement with the antecedent? And if not, what do we need to do to correct this sentence? All right, so we got a whole slew of issues here that we need to fix. So, if either of the girls move in with Jack, they are out of their minds. So, this contains multiple problems, including subject-verb agreement issues, which hopefully you noticed since you've already completed the module on subject-verb agreements. So, the antecedent here is either of the girls. That's singular. Either of means either one or the other. So one person, not two. Also, the correct verb form here should be moves. If either of the girls moves in with Jack. Okay? If the subject is singular, the verb form needs to be singular. Now we have two pronouns, they and their, and they're plural, okay? But they must be singular because our antecedent is singular, okay? So we need to change they and their to she and her. This also affects the verb form. So it shouldn't be they are, but she is. Okay? Again, it's only one person making the decision to move in with Jack. Also, minds, the last word of the sentence, cannot be plural. It's just one person's mind being questioned. Okay? So, therefore, the corrected sentence here has to read, if either of the girls moves in with Jack, she is out of her mind.